So 3a, find the equation of the cubic whose graph cuts the x-axis at 3, 1, and -2 and passes through 2, -4. So we're going to write it out. We're going to write y equals a times x minus 3, x minus 1, x plus 2. And we know that this is equal to, we can put x equals 2, y equals -4, and substitute that in, and it'll work out. So it'll be 2 minus 3, which is -1, 2 minus 1, which is 1, and 2 plus 2, which is 4. So -4 is equal to a times -4. So a is equal to 1. Okay. 3c. Touches the x-axis at 1, so that means it's a double root at 1, so x minus 1 squared, cuts the x-axis at -2, so x plus 2, and that would be a, y equals, and then it passes through 4, 54, so I'm going to put 54 in for y, and I'm going to put 4 in for x, so 4 minus 3 is 3, 4 minus 1 is 3 squared, 4 plus 2 is 6, so that is equal to 54a, because 9 times 6 is 54, so actually a is just equal to 1. Okay. 5. Find the equation of a real cubic polynomial which cuts the x-axis at 1/2 and -3, cuts the y-axis at 30, and passes through 1, -20. So cuts the y-axis at 30 means there's a coordinate 0, 30. Cuts the x-axis at 1/2 and -3 means that it's got a times x minus 1/2 times x plus 3, that's a mess, times x minus something else, which we don't know, right? The third root we don't know. And now we're going to try to use these 2 points to figure out what a and the third root are. Okay, so when we put in 0, 30, let's see what happens. So we'll have 30 equals a times -1/2 times 3 times 0 minus b would be -b. So we know that 30 is equal to 1/2 times b times 3 would be 3/2 b. Okay, so 3/2 ab, right? And then we have one more point, which is 1, -20. Let's see if that helps us. So -20 would be for y, and then x would be 1, so it would be 1 minus 1/2 would be 1/2. 1 plus 3 is 4, and 1 minus b is 1 minus b. Let's multiply that. -20 equals 1/2 times 4 is 2. 2 times 1 minus b is 2 minus 2b times a. Let's expand that. 2a minus 2ab equals -20. And now let's try to oh, there's an AB here and there's an AB here. That'll be useful. So AB is equal to 2/3 of 20, which is equal to 40 divided by 3. Is that right? 2/3. I'm 2/3 of 30, not 2/3 of 20. Now I can see why I was thinking 20. 2/3 of 30 is equal to 20. So AB is 20. So here we have -20 equals 2a minus 2 times 20, because AB is 20, right? Okay, so now we have -20 equals 2a minus 40. We add 40 to both sides, and we have 20 equals 2a. So a is equal to 10. If we know a equals to 10, it's pretty easy to figure out b, because we know that ab equals 20. If ab equals 20 and a is 10, that 10b equals 20. So b is equal to 2. A is equal to 10 and b is equal to 2. So the last one, we're looking for a cubic which cuts the x-axis at 2. So it has x minus 2, cuts the y-axis at -4, which means it's got a coordinate of 0, -4, passes through 1, -1, and -1, -21. So here we got two roots that we don't know what they are yet. Okay, and if we set 0 and -4 for x and y, we will get -4 equals a times 0 minus 2, which is -2, 0 minus b, which is -b, and 0 minus c, which is -c. Then we got the negatives cancel out. We'll have 4 equals, and then we'll have 2abc. Okay, and then if we substitute in 1 and -1, we'll have -1 equals a times 1 minus 2, which is -1, 1 minus b, and 1 minus c. And let's multiply that out. So we have -1. The negatives cancel out, so we'll have 1 equals a times 1 minus b minus c plus bc. Then let's substitute in the last one, -1, -21. So that would be -21 equals a times -1 minus 2, which is -3, -1 minus b, which is that, and -1 minus c, which is that. And then let's factor out the negatives, and we'll have 21 equals 3 times 1 minus b times, or 1 plus b times 1 plus c times a. Okay. And so we can simplify this. We have 21 equals 3a times 1 plus b plus c plus bc. So our three key equations are this, and this, and this. So you have three equations and three unknowns. It's definitely possible to solve these, but I have to say it's going to be torturous, okay? So what did I do in this case? I was like, man, this is not the way the book would have solved this. So I looked at the book to see what they did, and they did something kind of clever. What they did was they avoided this mess here by making just one variable on the right side instead of 3. And the way they did that is this. Okay, so you know that one of the factors is x minus 2, right? And you know that it's a cubic, so you know that what's being multiplied times x minus 2 would be ax squared plus bx plus c, or could be expressed in that form, right? Then they said, okay, I know that the y-intercept is 0, -4. So that means that if I multiply -2 times c, that should give me -4. Because if I multiplied this out with FOIL, the last term would be blah, 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 minus 2c. So minus 2c has to be equal to -4. So c is equal to 2. So we already have solved one of the variables, and then it makes it easier to solve a and b, because then there's only 2 equations and 2 unknowns instead of 3 equations and 3 unknowns. Okay, so now I know that I've got x minus 2 times ax squared plus bx plus 2. And I have a couple of points that I can insert, which are 1, negative 1. So I can put x equals 1 and y equals negative 1. So I could put negative 1 equals 1 minus 2, which is negative 1, a times a times 1 squared, which is a, plus b times 1, which is b, plus 2. So that's 1 equals a plus b plus 2. A plus b equals negative 1. Now let's do this pair here. So we have negative 21 equals negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3. A times negative 1 squared is a. Negative 1 times b is negative b plus 2. So that would be 21. Well, actually, we could just divide negative 21 by negative 3. We get 7 equals a minus b plus 2. A minus b equals 5. A plus b equals negative 1. A equals negative 1 minus b. So 5 equals negative 1 minus b, negative 1 minus 2b. 6 equals minus 2b. B equals negative 3. If b equals negative 3, then a equals negative 1 minus 3. Negative 1 plus 3 is equal to 2. So a is equal to 2. And what are we trying to find again? Find the equation of a real cubic polynomial. So it would be x minus 2 times 2x squared minus 3x plus 2.